Yeah, I know a lot about MK Ultra.
Let's hear about it.
So there was a start of what I would refer to as a mental arms race. And the Soviets were also doing this stuff too. And this is where you had weird stuff going on. We had like Project Stargate, like the Men Who Stare at Goats movie, and remote viewing and all this other stuff was going on. Then they started MK Ultra, which involved a lot of former Nazi scientists. And involved a lot of LSD and dosing people with massive, massive doses of LSD. And ruining a lot of people's lives in the process. But it was an attempt initially to find some kind of a truth serum. And actually the Navy participated in the biggest one, which was called Project Chatter, which is a sub-project of MK Ultra. And with this guy, he's a professor at Colgate University. His name's Dr. George Estabrooks. And he and J. Edgar Hoover are collaborating on a plan to use hypnosis to capture and hypnotize a German submarine captain and give him alter identities, and send him back to his fleet in Germany and have him torpedo the entire German fleet inside the harbor. And this was a legit plan, but it got weird. I mean, these guys had lots of power. This was called the OSS, which, as you know pretty well back then. We've got this guy running the show. His name's Wild Bill Donovan. And his instructions to the lead guys in every unit was to make merry hell when it came to MK Ultra. And they did this one project called Project Midnight Climax. They took prostitutes in San Francisco, and these women would lure these men back to the hotel and drug them with LSD. Like high-dose LSD, and on the other side of a two-way mirror, these scientists would be back there writing down God knows what, because that's all we really know about the whole program. They were also experimenting with aerosol LSD. Like, can we disperse it into a crowd? Can we disperse it over a city? What does it do in water supplies?
It's perfectly fair to question the legitimacy of Chase Hughes' knowledge here, so I've spent some time tracking down the official CIA document, which will be linked in the description below. It is believed that specific research should be undertaken to develop new chemicals or drugs, or to improve known elements for the use in the artichoke work. A study should be made to determine what drugs are best suited for direct use on subjects along the lines of amytal and pentothal, and which drugs are best for indirect or long-range approach to subjects. This second type of drug should be one that can be administered over a considerable period of time, possibly being placed in the food or water, and would either have an agitating effect, producing anxiety, nervousness, or tension, or a depressing effect, creating a feeling of despondency, hopelessness, lethargy, etc. This study should include chemicals or drugs that can effectively be concealed in common items such as food, water, Coca-Cola, beer, liquor, cigarettes, etc. This type of drug should also be capable of use in standard medical treatments, such as vaccinations, shots, etc.
And just some insane stuff. But they discovered this way to create a Manchurian candidate. And this is a lot of where some of these ideas came from. And this guy, George Estabrooks, perfected this system to create a Manchurian candidate. He could create an alter ego inside of an army officer. One of them was the normal officer, and they called him Jones A, and there was a Jones B. And we could send this guy through enemy lines, doing whatever. Jones A is a normal army officer. Jones B is carrying these vital classified secrets. So if Jones A gets captured, Jones B doesn't activate until he hears a very specific hypnotic phrase or hypnotic command under hypnosis. And they do that on the other side of the line. So they developed this stuff way back when. And one of the doctors working on this whole project was named Dr. Joylyn West, who may have been involved with the Sirhan situation and Bobby Kennedy, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. But it looks like Sirhan to me. I'm 100% convinced that he was programmed to do that.
No shit.
It's not hard to do. I mean, look at the Milgram experiment. 40 minutes, kill a stranger. And they didn't use hypnosis. There was no like cool sales tactic or script that they had to follow. Everybody's concerned with like, what do I say? What are the exact words I need to say? It's, can you trigger the fate model? Focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. And if you get that, you get compliance. And if you get that plus hypnosis, then you can create the Manchurian candidate. And it's not that hard to do. You don't need a bunch of advanced training to get that done. And I've studied that for a long time. So when I work with one-on-one clients who need a breakthrough or something like that, I'll use the exact same method to create an alter ego in a person that maybe doesn't eat 6 pounds of cheesecake every day. So you could take the exact same thing and put it in someone else that benefits them and acts as maybe a drill sergeant or a disciplinarian. The reason that I started doing this or got interested in it, there are case studies and reports of people with dissociative identity disorder. So like 2 personalities or multiple personalities inside of a person, where one of them has a medically diagnosable condition and the other one does not.
Are you shitting me?
No, this is proven. Like one of them could be cortically blind, or one could have color blindness. One of them could have some kind of a diabetic condition. There were several conditions where these other personalities would have allergies, even skin allergies and rashes in response to cat hair. And just upon reading this, I'm thinking like, well, could I make someone with severe depression have an alter ego that doesn't have the depression? And we know that neurons that fire together wire together. So over the course of 6 months, if they keep doing this, can they kind of like rewire their brain if this alter keeps taking over? Of course, I didn't know. I played with it for a really long time. Our brains are fascinating, and how fast they can change and adapt. And if you've got a good person working with you, you can get a lot done. But I think the only other way to really alter mental plasticity that fast would be psychedelics. This was like ketamine or a DMT or something like that.
So how would they do it with MK Ultra? Would it be they are in the middle of the journey, the psychedelic kicks in, and then is it a hypnosis? Because the way it's described is they're injecting thoughts, right?
There was never a recipe. My estimation is that it was a microdose of LSD because as you know, in psychedelics, language loses more and more meaning the more psychedelics you do. So I was thinking it was a microdose of LSD, massive amounts of hypnosis to where the person's hyper responsive to that person's voice. So like when I see clients, they listen to my MP3 audio thing that's hypnosis to just help them go to sleep every night. So by the time they show up and see me in person, their brain is hyper responsive to my voice, and it's a lot easier. And then during that process, in my estimation, they used real trauma like oxygen deprivation or something like that to create a traumatic brain response inside of the limbic system of our brain, which makes us dissociate. While they're dissociated, they hypnotize them and then kind of create that alter ego. Tell them how they activate, tell them when they come up and what their personality is, what they like to do. You're here to protect the hosts. So like if I did this to you, Sean B's job would be to protect Sean A.
I mean, I don't understand how person B comes out, though. How is that determined?
Person B comes out through dissociation. So that's where we get the name dissociative identity disorder. So when a person is going through some kind of traumatic event, you'll talk to somebody who goes through trauma and they just kind of like exit their body temporarily, or exit this one globe of consciousness into this other piece. And when they shift over to this other piece, you can separately create this piece and give them an identity, give them a name. And if I can make something real in your head, then I can create it in reality for you. Which is why a lot of these cases of dissociative identity disorder were created by the psychiatrists in the 70s and 80s and the 90s. And this is called iatrogenic dissociative identity disorder. Shawn, if you came to me and I was a psychiatrist and we were working together, you said, well, I have this thing going on in my life and it's X and Y and Z. And all I did was start talking about 2 different parts of you. And I say, it seems like there's a part of you that wants to eat the right thing, but there's also a part of you that wants to overeat. And you're like, yeah. And then I go into 5 or 6 other examples in your life. Is this like this in social situations? Is there a part of you that wants to hide and there's a part of you that wants to socialize? Yeah. So I'd go into all these parts, and then I would say, you know what, I'd like you to take a questionnaire. And this questionnaire is maybe 17 questions. And a lot of these people made it up on the spot, these little questionnaires. And if I tell you that you scored high in dissociative identity, I'd say, like, this person, this other part of you has their own thoughts, their own behaviors, their own life. And I think a lot of your issues are from not addressing this other part of you that wants to do these other things. And they're probably here to keep you safe. So just really quick, just between you and I, if that other part of you had a name, what would you want to name that other part? And you say, Steven. And I'm like, all right, so I'd like to talk to Steven now. So within the course of one session, I have a conversation with Shawn, I have a conversation with Steven. And by the 3rd or 4th session, you are fully living your life as if there are 2 people in your head. Because what happens there? There's a lot of novelty, focus, a lot of authority, because there's a guy in a lab coat or a guy in the psychology sweater vest holding the clipboard there, taking you through a lot of this stuff. The authority and your expectation is what sets the stage for this to become a reality. So you can accidentally get dissociative identity from a provider. And this is very well documented.
And so what was the point of MK Ultra?
Who knows? I don't know.
You don't know?
I think the initial aim was to figure out the perfect truth serum, which they thought LSD was some miracle for truth serum. And they were testing sodium amytal, which is another drug that's pretty well known as a good truth serum. And they were trying to figure out, can we really brainwash people? Can we create Manchurian candidates? Can we split people's personalities? There was so much, and that it was just wild. It was the Wild West. So it's just looking at what they did, nobody would ever be able to know what the ultimate aim was.
So how would they get personality B to trigger on demand?
It's pretty simple. A lot of repetition. So like if I continually deprive you of oxygen, and then afterwards, every time you dissociate, I'm say, now I'm talking to Shawn B. And what's your number one goal? You want to protect Shawn A, right? And the number one way to do that is to go do this one thing in this place. That's the way to protect. Is that your goal? Is that what you want to do? Good. And every time you come out, I might set up some kind of a trigger. Once you hear these words, then you have permission to come out and do exactly what you want to do. And it's very easy. It's just setting up the expectation and then rehearsal. That's all hypnosis really is. But when you do it with this Manchurian candidate stuff, it's trauma, expectation, and then repetition. And it's not hard. Without any of that trauma, any of that programming, no LSD, strangers will kill another stranger in 40 minutes, at a rate of 67%.
Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go in. Let me out.
The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
So people think like there's some advanced, crazy technique that you have to master to do a lot of this stuff. It's a lot simpler than most people think.
It's not that advanced.
It's not.
Man, that's fucking scary.
It is terrifying.
Do you think that program's still going on?
Yeah, we're swimming in it inside of our phone every day.